Let me tell you about the 17 nights that changed everything for one American family. This isn't a campfire story, this isn't folklore. This happened in a modern suburban home in Colorado Springs during the coldest December in recent memory. And it all began with a shadow that decided to move on its own. Mark Henderson was checking his security footage that Tuesday morning. Just routine. He'd installed the cameras a month earlier, a Ring doorbell, 2 indoor cameras. The kind of system that's supposed to give you peace of mind. He fast-forwarded through the night, expecting to see nothing but darkness and the occasional pet moving. But then he stopped, rewound, played again. There, in the corner of his living room, at exactly 3:15 a.m., something impossible happened. The shadow from their bookshelf detached itself. It slid across the floor like black oil, paused in the center of the room for exactly 45 seconds, then slid back, attached itself to the bookshelf again. Became just a shadow once. Mark called his wife Sarah into the room. "Look at this," he said, trying to sound casual. They watched it together 3 times. Sarah laughed nervously. "Must be a glitch," she said. "Maybe a bug on the lens?" But they both knew bugs don't cast shadows that move with purpose. Bugs don't keep perfect time. The next night they stayed up, set an alarm for 3:10 a.m., sat in bed with Mark's phone between them, watching the live feed. "Send in 15 分, nothing. Send in 15分30秒, nothing. Send in 15分55秒." The shadow twitched. "Send in 15分0秒, exactly." It detached. Same movement, same path. Same 45-second pause, then return. That's when they realized this wasn't random. Their nightly visitor was punctual. Night 3, same thing. Night 4, same. By the 5th night, they weren't sleeping at all. They'd lie awake watching the clock approach 3:15, hearts pounding. The shadow always came, never early, never late like it had an appointment in their living room. They called the security company. No issues reported. They checked for carbon monoxide, normal. An electrician found nothing wrong with their wiring. Everything was normal, except the shadow that visited their home every night at 3:15 a.m. On the 7th night, something changed. Mark was watching live when the first shadow appeared. Then a second shadow peeled away from the opposite wall. 2 of them now. They moved toward each other, met in the center of the room, and merged. For 3 seconds they became one larger, darker shadow, then separated, returned to their walls. That was the breaking point. The Hendersons called a paranormal investigation team, a local group with good reviews. 2 investigators arrived with equipment, EMF readers, infrared cameras, temperature sensors. They set up in the living room, prepared to stay the night. At 3 hours 15 minutes and 3 seconds a.m. exactly, the EMF reader spiked. Temperature dropped 8 degrees in the corner where the first shadow appeared. The infrared camera showed something the regular camera didn't. The shadows had structure, almost like limbs, but wrong. Too long, too thin, moving in ways human limbs can't move. The lead investigator later told me, "I've seen a lot in 20 years. But this was different. These weren't residual HAUNTINGS. This was intelligent, purposeful." 3 more nights passed. Now there were 3 shadows, then 4. They stopped just moving randomly. They started communicating. December 22nd, night 12. The 4 shadows positioned themselves against the largest wall in the living room. They shifted, morphed, arranged themselves into shapes. Letters. The investigators enhanced the footage later. The first night, WE, just 2 letters. We. The next night, WEMISS. We miss. The third night of patterns, WEMISSYO. We miss you. A complete sentence formed by shadows, speaking to a family that hadn't lost anyone recently. No deaths in the family. No close friends passed away. The message made no sense, and that made it terrifying. Sarah Henderson told me in a phone interview, her voice still shaking months later, the shadows were scary. But the message, that's what kept me up. Who misses us? Why are they telling us? And why through shadows in our living room? The family started sleeping in the same room. All four of them. Mark, Sarah, 9-year-old Emily, 6-year-old Lucas, in the master bedroom. Doors locked, lights on. But they still check the footage every morning. Still saw the shadows. Still saw the message, repeating, "We miss you. Night 15. 5 shadows now." They didn't just appear in the living room anymore. They moved through the hallway, past the children's rooms, always stopping outside the doors, standing there as if listening or waiting. Night 16. 6 shadows, moving in unison now, like a dance they'd practiced. A dark ballet in a Colorado living room at 3:15 a.m. The investigators captured thermal footage showing they were cold. Colder than the room, colder than anything living should be. Then came the final night, December 27th. 17 nights since it began. Mark and Sarah didn't even try to sleep. They sat with the investigators in the living room, all equipment running. Cameras from every angle. EMF readers. Audio recorders. Temperature sensors. The clock ticked toward 3:15 a.m. 上午3点14分. Silence. 3 hours, 14 minutes, and 30 seconds a.m. Still silence. 3 hours, 14 minutes, and 55 seconds a.m. The air grew cold. 3 hours, 15 minutes, and 0 seconds a.m. Exactly. 7 shadows appeared simultaneously. Not detaching from walls this time, just manifesting. 7 humanoid shapes made of pure darkness. They lined up along the living room wall, stood perfectly still for 1 minute. Then they began to move. They flowed through the living room in formation, down the hallway, stopped outside the children's bedroom doors. 3 shadows at Emily's door, 4 at Lucas's. They stood there for 3 full minutes. The temperature dropped 15 degrees. The EMF readers went crazy. Audio captured whispering in no language anyone could identify. Then, one by one, starting with the smallest shadow, they faded, not moving away, not returning to walls, just dissolving like smoke in reverse, until nothing remained. 3 hours, 17 minutes, and 42 seconds a.m. The last shadow vanished. The investigators checked every reading. The EMF normalized. Temperature returned. Everything was normal. Just a quiet house at night. December 28th. 3:15 a.m. came and went. Nothing. December 29th. Nothing. December 30th. Still nothing. The phenomenon had ended as suddenly as it began. 17 nights, 17 visits. Then nothing. The Hendersons moved out in January. Couldn't stay, couldn't sleep. Couldn't look at shadows without wondering. The house sold quickly. The new owners report nothing unusual. Just a quiet house in a quiet neighborhood. So what really happened in that Colorado home? The investigators have theories. One suggests the house sits on a geological thin spot where dimensions overlap briefly. The shadows were glimpses of something from elsewhere. The message? Either a misunderstanding or a mistranslation across realities. Another theory involves the previous owners, a family of 4 who lived there for 30 years. All died in a car accident in 2017. The house stood empty for a year before the Hendersons moved in. 4 deceased residents, 3 living Hendersons. That makes 7 beings connected to the house. 7 shadows on the final night. Maybe We Miss You wasn't from the dead to the living. Maybe it was from the house itself. Missing having life within its walls. Missing the sounds of a family. Missing the warmth of human presence. Or maybe it's something science hasn't caught up to yet. A natural phenomenon we don't understand. Shadows aren't things after all. They're absences of light. What if sometimes under specific conditions those absences become something else? Something that remembers? Something that communicates? Here's what keeps me up at night about this case. The precision, the timing, exactly 3:15 a.m. every night for 17 nights. Then stops. The multiplication. 1 becomes 2, becomes 3, becomes 7. The message. Clear English words formed by entities that shouldn't exist. This wasn't random haunting, this was scheduled. Intentional, almost. Scientific in its regularity. The family is doing okay now. Living in a different state. No shadows in their new home. The children are back to sleeping in their own rooms. Life has mostly returned to normal. But Mark told me one last thing. He said we don't talk about it much, but sometimes at exactly 3:15 a.m. one of us will wake up for no reason, and we'll just lie there, listening. Not sure what we're listening for. Then we'll check our phones, check the time, and breathe when we see it's 3:16. Because here's the truth about fear. Real fear. It doesn't end when the phenomenon ends. It stays with you. In the quiet moments. In the dark hours. In the way you look at ordinary shadows and wonder, are they really just shadows? We all have them in our homes, in our offices, in our lives. Shadows. We ignore them. They're nothing. Absence of light. That's all. But what if that's not all? What if sometimes, under the right conditions, shadows become something else? Something that watches, something that remembers, something that misses us? Next time you're alone at night, next time you see a shadow in the corner of your room, don't just ignore it. Watch it for a minute. See if it moves, see if it changes. Because, according to one family in Colorado, sometimes they do, and sometimes they have messages for us. Messages we might not understand until it's too late. The Henderson family has requested privacy. Their names have been changed. The location has been generalized, but the events, those are as real as the shadow your lamp is casting right now. Look behind you. Just kidding. Or am I?